There are moments in life when your world is spinning, your heart is shattered, and your mind is screaming for answers. And right there, in the storm, is when people make the worst decisions of their life. Don't be that girl. Never, and I mean never, make these 5 decisions when your soul is bleeding. Never make decisions when your ego is bruised, your heart is broken, or your worth feels invisible, because that's not you thinking. That's your pain making choices for you. You don't burn your life down just because someone didn't see your worth. You don't run back to the wrong person just because the nights got lonely. You don't say yes when your soul is screaming no. And most importantly, you never play small just to make someone else feel big. These are the 5 decisions you never make under pressure, heartbreak, or fear. And today, I'm not here to sugarcoat it, I'm here to wake you up. Because your next decision could define the next 10 years of your life. This one's for you. Never make a decision when you're angry, not because anger is wrong, but because it blinds you. It hijacks your logic, steals your calm, and makes you believe that vengeance is victory. And let me tell you something. Decisions made in rage always come back with consequences wrapped in regret. Think about it. You've had a fight with your partner. Your heart's pounding, your voice is shaking, your pride is bruised. You want to text something back, something sharp, something they'll never forget. But here's the truth. What you say in anger may be the last thing they ever remember about you. And sometimes silence is stronger than 100 angry words. That moment you hit send, it feels powerful. But later, you wish you just walked away, counted to 10, and let your dignity answer for you. Anger isn't power. It's pain screaming for attention. And when you let pain decide, you lose your position. It's like burning a bridge while you're still standing on it. The fire feels good until you realize you have nowhere left to go. Ever slammed the door on a job or opportunity just because your boss criticized you? Or you didn't feel seen? Anger rises, and suddenly you're drafting a resignation letter. They don't deserve me, you say. And maybe they don't. But is this about them? Or is your ego just hurt? That's the catch. Your ego can be loud. And when it gets bruised, it wants revenge, not redemption. It wants drama, not direction. But once that storm passes and you sit with your decision in silence, that's when the regret creeps in. I've seen women throw away years of friendship because of one moment of rage. One misunderstood word, one assumption, one wrong tone, and then comes the text, "Don't ever talk to me again." The moment feels justified. Until later, when you miss the comfort, the laughter, the history, that's when you realize you didn't lose a friend. You let anger make the decision for you. You see, anger is like a temporary blindness. It makes you forget who you are. You don't act from strength. You react from insecurity. And in that reaction, you become someone you later have to apologize for. Or worse, you lose people, chances, and moments you'll never get back. Even as a parent, imagine yelling at your child when they make a mistake. Your voice echoes. You say things that cut deep. Why can't you be more like, "You always disappoint me"? And years later, that child grows into an adult who still hears your anger in the quiet of their confidence, in relationships, in careers, in families. Anger has ruined more than failure ever has. Because failure humbles you, but anger hardens you. It closes your heart. And once your heart is closed, every decision that follows is a defense mechanism, not a dream. Here's the truth no one tells you. Walking away when you're angry isn't weakness. It's war strategy. It's emotional intelligence. It's knowing that not everything deserves a reaction. Some things deserve your peace, and some people don't deserve a front row seat to your storm. Next time anger visits you, and it will, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself, I am not my reaction, I am my response. Because anyone can explode, but only the powerful can pause. The strongest woman in the room isn't the one shouting. She's the one who stays silent, watches everything, and chooses grace over chaos. So if you're tempted to say something just to hurt, to quit just to prove a point, to decide something because you're burning with fury, stop. Not forever, just for now. Wait until the fire cools and your truth speaks louder than your temper. Because the woman who waits to speak with wisdom always walks away with respect. Never decide your worth when you've been rejected. Rejection is not a mirror. It's a moment. But if you stare too long at it, you start believing the lies it reflects. You start thinking, I wasn't good enough. Maybe I never was. And that's the trap. That's the silent heartbreak nobody sees. The one where you begin to measure your value based on someone else's blindness. Let's talk about love. You gave someone your time, your heart, your loyalty. You showed up. You stayed. You believed in something real. And then they walk away. Maybe they ghost you. Maybe they say it's not you, it's them. Maybe they replace you like you were never even there. And in that moment, your mind doesn't just break, it rewinds. It replays every conversation, every laugh, every I love you. And worst of all, it whispers, was I not enough? But that's the lie. Rejection in love doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means they weren't capable of receiving the kind of love you give. And that is their limitation, not your definition. How many women sat in job interviews full of dreams, only to hear, we've gone with someone else. And suddenly it's not just a missed opportunity, it feels like a personal attack. You start thinking you're unqualified, invisible, too much or not enough. But you forget, maybe they couldn't see your magic because they were only looking for mediocrity. Maybe your light was too bright for a room that never knew how to shine. Rejection doesn't mean you weren't good enough. It means that door wasn't built to handle the power you bring. Even in friendships, people you trusted, confided in, laughed with, suddenly they stop calling, stop caring, stop showing up, and you feel discarded, like your presence was disposable. But here's the truth. People who leave you when they outgrow your struggle never deserved your victory. They didn't reject you, they freed you. So don't ever let their absence convince you that your presence lacked value. Let's go deeper. Sometimes rejection comes from your own family. Parents who favored a sibling, teachers who overlooked your potential, society that told you you're too dark, too loud, too ambitious. And without realizing it, you start shrinking. You start apologizing for existing too boldly. But rejection from those who never understood your purpose is not a verdict. It's just noise. And you were never meant to build your self-worth in an echo chamber of insecurity. Here's something powerful. Some of the greatest queens, the loudest legends, the fiercest souls, they were all rejected, overlooked, undervalued, until one day they stopped asking to be chosen and started choosing themselves. Because the moment you realize your worth doesn't depend on being accepted is the moment you become unstoppable. Stop looking for approval in places that only offer conditions. Stop letting heartbreak define how beautiful your heart is. Stop believing that someone's inability to love you, promote you, understand you, or stand by you is a reflection of your lack. It is not. If someone can't see your worth, don't you dare hand them the pen to write your story. Pick it back up, write your own, and let every rejection become redirection. You're not here to be chosen. You're here to be realized. And the ones who see your worth, they won't need to be convinced. They was just waiting to be seen by the right eyes. And now, so never ever decide your worth based on who left, who said no, or who couldn't love you right. They were just chapters. You are the whole damn book. Never settle for less just because you're lonely. Loneliness is a feeling, not a reason to hand over your heart to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. It's a phase, not a verdict. But in that silent ache of being unseen, untouched, and unchosen, people often make the most dangerous decision. They give their soul to someone who only wants their silence. Someone who's just convenient, not committed. And that, my love, is how queens lose their crowns. Think of the nights when you sat on your bed, scrolling through your phone, watching everyone else in love, smiling, traveling, living, and there you are, alone. Your heart whispers, just find someone. Anyone. Just don't feel like this anymore. Some people find it, they don't get it. They don't feel like this anymore. But that's not love talking. That's the fear of solitude. That's the echo of maybe this is all I deserve. But tell me something. Would you rather lie next to someone who doesn't know your soul, or sleep alone in peace? One will leave you empty. The other will teach you how to overflow. So many women enter relationships just to fill a silence. But silence is sacred. It teaches you to listen to yourself. And when you settle for less, just because you're scared of your own company, you forget that being alone is not the same as being abandoned. You are not unwanted. You are unbothered. There's a difference. I've seen girls stay in dead-end relationships where the love feels like a duty, not desire. They're not seen, not cherished, not respected, but they stay because the fear of starting over feels heavier than the pain of staying. That's not love. That's loneliness dressed up as loyalty. And every time you allow it, you teach yourself that crumbs are enough, that half effort is acceptable, that survival is love. But you didn't come this far just to be tolerated. You were born to be treasured. Ever been in a room full of people and still felt alone? That's what happens when you choose presence over connection. Just because someone's body is near doesn't mean their soul is. You can be touched, kissed, but never felt. Spoken to, but never understood. So ask yourself, is it companionship or just a distraction from the void you refuse to face? Loneliness can drive you to lower your standards, to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, to entertain texts from people who only message when they're bored, to convince yourself that late night hey texts are affection and inconsistent attention is effort. But you're not here to be someone's option. You're not a backup plan. You are the dream. You are the reason someone should rise, not the reason they stay stagnant. And don't let society rush you. Don't let the pressure of weddings, couples vacations, and social media romances make you feel behind. You're not late. You're on time for your own story. And that story doesn't need a co-star if the script was never written for them. Just because the seat next to you is empty doesn't mean you're lacking. It means you're Rama is you ask you take you ask a question. You take a question. You reserving it for someone who truly deserves the view beside you. You want to know real power? Real power is knowing you could have someone tonight, but you'd rather wait for the one who stays every morning after. It's choosing peace over presence. It's saying, I'd rather be alone than half loved. Because one day someone will come, and they won't need convincing, reminding, or chasing. They'll just know. They'll see the solitude you mastered and fall in love with the woman who never settled, even when the nights were long and the silence was loud. So when loneliness creeps in, don't run toward chaos. Don't reply to old flames. Don't reopen doors that once closed for a reason. Instead, sit with yourself. Breathe. Remind yourself, this space I'm in now, it's sacred. And I won't pollute it with people who don't match the vibration of my becoming. Because a woman who's no longer afraid of being alone is a woman no one can play. Behavior quit when you're tired. Only quit when you're done. Because tired is temporary, but regret lasts forever. When you're tired, everything feels heavy. Your dreams seem distant. Your energy fades. And the voices in your head get louder. Is this even worth it? Why am I doing this? Maybe I should just stop. But tired isn't the enemy. It's a signal. It's your body saying, pause, not surrender. But that's it for the daily time suck. Your podcast marks the season change. School feels a little bit more unreal. But that's okay. You're able to come back, but it's tough. Your podcast, there's a big difference between needing rest and deciding you're finished. Think about the athlete training day and night, pushing past the limits of breath, pain, and fear. There are moments when their legs shake, lungs burn, and the finish line feels like it's miles away. But they don't walk off the track because they're tired. They rest, rehydrate, regroup, and then run again. Because champions don't quit when it hurts. They quit when the race is over. That's what separates the ones who make history from the ones who become a forgotten whisper in the wind. There are students out there staring at books with tired eyes, failing exams, feeling like they're not smart enough. And right before they break through, they think about dropping out. But what if they stopped right before the breakthrough? What if the next try was the one that worked? Don't you dare quit because you're exhausted. Breathe, cry, scream, but keep going. Because the difference between a graduate and a dropout isn't talent, it's endurance. It's knowing the pain is part of the process. In relationships, people quit too soon. I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of being the only one who cares. But ask yourself, are you tired because it's wrong for you? Or are you tired because you haven't been heard, healed, or helped? Don't leave just because you're tired of the cycle. Break the pattern. Speak, stand, reset, but don't walk away from something just because it got heavy. Sometimes, the love of your life needs you at your strongest, not your easiest. And when it comes to building your dream, building yourself, this is where the world tries to convince you to quit the most. You start that business, create that content, write that book, chase that career, and at first, it's exciting. But then comes the silence. No followers, no results, no applause. Just work and waiting. And in that waiting, tiredness creeps in like a thief. But the greatest empires were built brick by brick in silence. You don't hear the roots growing beneath the tree, but one day it blooms. Stay through the silence. Stay through the struggle. Because when you're tired, your mind lies. It says, give up. But your soul is begging you to push through. Mothers don't quit raising their children because they're tired. Nurses don't quit mid-surgery because they've been on their feet for 14 hours. Firefighters don't walk out of burning buildings because the smoke is too thick. And you? You don't quit on your dream, your purpose, your calling just because the weight feels unbearable tonight. You rise. You rest. You roar again. The truth is, you can't always trust how you feel when you're tired. You rise. You rest. You roar again. The truth is, you can't always trust how you feel when you're tired. Exhaustion distorts perspective. It makes mountains out of molehills and convinces you that quitting is peace. But quitting isn't peace, it's postponement. And you'll wake up tomorrow still haunted by what you walked away from. So before you quit, ask yourself, am I done or am I just tired? Because when you quit while tired, you teach your mind that effort ends at exhaustion. But when you push through the fatigue and keep building, keep trying, keep standing, you tell the world, I am not here to break, I am here to finish what I started. Whether make promises out of guilt or fear. Because a promise made from pressure is a prison, not a bond. It's a leash tied to your spirit, pulling you in directions you were never meant to walk. You don't owe anyone a commitment just because you feel bad or scared. You owe yourself honesty first. Guilt is a master manipulator. It doesn't shout, it whispers. If you really loved them, you'd say yes. They've done so much for you, how can you say no? But love isn't a debt, and gratitude doesn't require sacrifice of your peace. Think of that friend who always expects you to drop everything for them. The one who makes you feel like you're a bad person if you set a boundary. And so you say yes again. You cancel your plans. You rearrange your life. You swallow your exhaustion, and then you wonder why you're drained, why you're resentful. Because every time you promise from guilt, You abandon yourself to serve someone else's comfort. Fear, on the other hand, is louder. It screams, what if they leave? What if you lose them? So you say, I promise I'll stay. I promise I won't change. I promise I'll do better. Even when your soul is suffocating. Even when you know you're not meant to be there. You're not making a promise, you're making a survival pact. And nothing born from fear ever blossoms into freedom. Look around. Look at marriages built on fear of loneliness. Friendships maintained out of guilt for growing apart. Careers continued because of fear of starting over. All these promises made with shaking hands and silent hearts. And guess what? They don't lead to joy. They lead to quiet desperation. They lead to waking up every day wondering, how did I get here? You didn't choose it. You were guilted or scared into it. And what about the promise you made to always be available? To always be the good girl, the yes woman, the one who never lets anyone down. Where did that promise come from? Was it born from your values or from your fear of being disliked? Respected women are not the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who know when to say no. Because every no you speak with courage is a yes to your truth. A woman once told me she promised to marry a man not because she loved him, but because she didn't want to hurt him. She was afraid of being called heartless, afraid of... And now, take a breath. Feel that fire rising in your chest. That's not just emotion. That's recognition. That's your soul remembering who you are. Because life will throw you into storms where your emotions try to become your compass. But storms don't decide your direction. Your inner strength does. You've heard this today. Never decide your worth when you're rejected. Never quit when you're tired. Never make promises out of guilt or fear. These are not just suggestions. These are the golden rules of self-respect. These are the battle lines between the woman you were told to be and the queen you were born to become. You know why this speech matters? Because every single day, someone out there is making permanent decisions in temporary moments. Someone is marrying the wrong person because they're afraid of being alone. Someone is walking away from their dream because they're exhausted, not because they're finished. Someone is lowering their standards because their loneliness is louder than their self-worth. But not you. Not anymore. You were not created to shrink so someone else can feel tall. You were not born to be a filler in someone else's story. You were born to be the headline of your own legacy. And guess what? That means you're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to rest. But you are never ever allowed to abandon yourself. Somewhere inside you is a woman who doesn't beg for love. She radiates it. A woman who doesn't need validation. She is her own proof. A woman who doesn't fear rejection because she knows rejection is simply redirection. Every delay wasn't denial. It was preparation. Diamonds aren't born in comfort. They're born under pressure. Let me tell you something you need to tattoo on your spirit. You can be soft and still be a warrior. You can be kind and still be unbreakable. You can be emotional and still be powerful. Your sensitivity is not your weakness, it's your superpower. Don't let the world convince you otherwise. You are not a second choice. You are not a backup plan. You are the prize. And the moment you start treating yourself like one, the world will either step up or step aside. Because people can only love you to the level you love yourself. Speak your truth. even if your voice trembles. Walk away from things that don't serve you, even if your knees shake. Stop negotiating with your worth. You weren't sent here just to exist. You were sent here to erupt, to awaken every sleeping part of you that once doubted her own greatness. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be legendary. And legends don't settle. Legends don't beg. Legends don't break when they bend. So if today you feel tired, rest, but don't quit. If today you feel guilted into staying where you don't belong, breathe, but don't promise away your power. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself, because you, my love, are not defined by the hands that dropped you. You are defined by the way you rose after the fall. You are not just a survivor. You are the storm that survival created. Say it with me. I am not here to play small. I am not here to make safe decisions out of fear. I am here to rise, roar, and reign. The world doesn't need another perfect woman. The world needs a real one. One who walks through fire and comes out gold. One who chooses courage over comfort. One who knows her worth even when the world forgets it. You are that woman. So stand tall, speak loud, and don't you ever let tiredness, guilt, rejection, fear, or loneliness trick you into giving up your crown. Being judged. So she walked down the aisle in a beautiful dress and a broken spirit. That's what guilt does. It dresses up sacrifice as love, but behind the smile is a silent scream. And years later she realized she never betrayed him. She betrayed herself. You need to know this. Real promises are rooted in clarity, not pressure. You should promise when your heart aligns, when your soul agrees, when your voice is steady, not when your hands are shaking, not when your throat is tight with fear, not when someone's tears are tricking you into carrying a burden that doesn't belong to you. You are not a savior. You are not a peace treaty. You are a person with a voice that matters. If someone needs a promise from you, let it be made with intention, not intimidation. Let it be a reflection of your strength, not your submission. Because the most dangerous promises are the ones you didn't believe in, but made anyway, just to keep the storm outside you from becoming a storm within. Let me tell you something that will haunt you if you ignore it. There's one thing, just one, you must never tell anyone in your entire life. Not your best friend, not your partner, not even your therapist. Why? Because the moment it leaves your lips, you lose control. And once it's out, you'll never own it again. We live in a world obsessed with sharing, oversharing. We bare our souls on social media, spill our secrets to strangers and call it connection. But there's a line. And once you cross it, you invite manipulation, judgment, and weakness into your power space. Some truths are sacred. Some parts of you are not for public consumption. Your weakness is your weapon until you hand it over. Let that sink in, because this is where most people get it wrong. They confuse vulnerability with exposure. They believe that sharing everything will earn them sympathy, connection, or even loyalty. But in reality, what you're doing is handing over the blueprint to your destruction. You are giving someone the sharpest knife and then turning your back. Let's talk about real life. Imagine a woman in a high-powered corporate job. Every day she walks into that boardroom, heels clicking, eyes focused, voice calm. But inside she's battling imposter syndrome. That little voice that tells her she doesn't belong here. Now picture this. One day she confesses to her colleague, "Honestly, sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing." That one sentence, so human, so real, is now ammunition. The next time there's a promotion up for grabs, that very same colleague casually drops, "She even admitted to me she doubts herself." You see, that weakness once shared became a tool against her. Your weakness, when unspoken, is fuel. It burns quietly inside you. It drives you to be better. It keeps you humble. But once you speak it out loud, in the wrong room, it's no longer fire, it's smoke. And it suffocates you. The world loves a confident story. The moment they sense a crack, they stop seeing your light and start zooming in on your scars. Another example. A girl goes through a bad breakup. She's shattered, crying herself to sleep, questioning her worth. One day she tells her new date, "I still feel like I wasn't enough for him." It sounds honest, raw, right? But here's the truth. Now that guy knows exactly where to poke. He knows her fear. If he's not sincere, he'll play with that. He'll use her insecurity to control her. Because the moment she handed over her weakness, she gave him power. You need to understand something. People are not always safe spaces. Just because someone listens doesn't mean they care. Just because someone nods doesn't mean they won't twist your words later. You don't know anyone the ugliest parts of your soul unless they've proven themselves through storms, not sunshine. Guard your weakness like a queen guards her crown. It's precious, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. Think of a boxer. He trains every day. He knows his left side is weaker. He works on it silently. He never shows it in the ring. Because the moment his opponent realizes that weakness, every hit will land there. That's life. The world is a ring. And your weakness, that's your open side. Strength doesn't mean not having weaknesses. It means knowing where they are and never letting others exploit them. Even in friendships, this happens. A girl shares that she feels insecure about her body. Her friend listens. Weeks later, during a fight, the same friend says, "You're just jealous because you've always hated your body." That's betrayal wrapped in truth. A truth you handed over too easily. So instead of giving it away, use it. Let your insecurity fuel your discipline. Let your self-doubt push you to learn more. Let your fears make you sharp. There is something wildly powerful about knowing your weakness, embracing it, and yet never exposing it. It's like holding a sword behind your back. No one sees it, but it's there. You're ready. You're dangerous. Your silent power. Mystery is power. In a world that constantly screams for attention, the one who whispers becomes unforgettable. The loudest person in the room may get noticed, but the one who says little and leaves them guessing, that's the one they can't stop thinking about. Because mystery plants curiosity, and curiosity is the most addictive emotion. Think about it. What makes a movie thrilling? It's not just the action. It's the suspense, the unanswered questions, the not knowing what's coming next. You become glued to the screen. Now imagine becoming that in real life. A woman who doesn't reveal everything. doesn't explain every move, and doesn't post every thought. She becomes powerful not because she's loud, but because no one can quite figure her out. Let's take a daily example. Picture a woman in a group chat who doesn't always reply right away. She doesn't overshare. When she enters a room, she smiles, listens, and speaks only when needed. People start wondering, what's she thinking? What's going on in her life? Is she okay? Is she busy? That silence becomes a mirror. They start projecting their thoughts on her. That line alone makes the other person lean in, intrigued. It builds anticipation. It tells them, there's more to me than what you see. And let me tell you, mystery is more attractive than perfection. Even in your career, mystery gives you an edge. You walk into a meeting, dressed sharp, prepared, but calm. You don't reveal all your ideas up front. You listen more than you speak. And when you finally drop your input, it lands like thunder. Why? Because they didn't see it coming. Your silence made your words louder. When people don't know your next move, they can't block you. That's why being unpredictable is a strategy, not a flaw. Remember high school or college? The quiet girl in class who didn't speak much, didn't share her drama with everyone. She was always the one people wanted to know more about. Who is she talking to? What's her story? That curiosity turns into attention. And attention, that's influence. People often mistake being mysterious for being distant. But mystery doesn't mean you're unavailable. It means you're selective. It means you value privacy. You respect yourself enough to keep certain parts of your life sacred. When you don't give people everything, they begin to value what you do give. Every word, every gesture, every story becomes more meaningful because it's rare. There's power in unpredictability. Never let them think they've figured you out. The moment they believe they know everything about you, they stop paying attention. Keep a little hidden. Keep evolving. Keep them wondering. Not to impress, but to protect your essence. When people can't predict you, they watch you, they analyze you, they try to decode you. And that energy, that obsession, it doesn't surround the open book. It surrounds the locked diary. Even on social media, don't share every struggle. Let them see the glow, not the grind. Let your success speak, not your struggle scream. Be the woman who walks in silence and wins out loud. Be the one who doesn't explain her glow up, just glows. Silence is elegance. In a world that thrives on noise, the one who masters silence becomes magnetic. You don't need to raise your voice to make a point. Sometimes your calmness in chaos, your grace in provocation, your stillness in storms, that's the loudest scream. It whispers with poise. Think about a heated argument in the workplace. Everyone is shouting, defending their points, trying to dominate the room. And then there's her. Composed, observing, not reacting. She waits. And when she finally speaks, everyone listens. Why? Because her silence before the words gave those words weight. Her elegance didn't come from being the loudest. It came from being the most grounded. Power wrapped in poise. Now picture this. You're in a relationship and your partner tries to provoke you. Maybe they say something cruel, throw a jab just to get a reaction. But instead of reacting emotionally, you pause. You look them in the eyes and you say absolutely nothing. That silence, that calm refusal to engage in chaos, it echoes louder than any insult. Because when someone expects you to break and you don't, even with silence, you've just claimed all the power in the room. That's not weakness, that's royalty. There's this young girl in school. She's not the loudest. She doesn't post every detail of her life on social media. She doesn't talk about every grade, every heartbreak, every move she makes. But people notice her. They admire her. Why? Because she carries herself with quiet confidence. She walks like she doesn't need validation. And when she speaks, the loudest, it came from being the most grounded. Power wrapped in poise. Now picture this. You're in a relationship and your partner tries to provoke you. Maybe they say something cruel, throw a jab just to get a reaction. But instead of reacting emotionally, you pause. You look them in the eyes and you say absolutely nothing. That silence, that calm refusal to engage in chaos, it echoes louder than any insult. Because when someone expects you to break and you don't, even with silence, you've just claimed all the power in the room. That's not weakness, that's royalty. There's this young girl in school. She's not the loudest. She doesn't post every detail of her life on social media. She doesn't talk about every grade, every heartbreak, every move she makes. But people notice her. They admire her. Why? Because she carries herself with quiet confidence. She walks like she doesn't need validation. And when she speaks, her words matter. Because she doesn't waste them. She doesn't chase attention. Her silence becomes her signature. That's elegance. Silence is not emptiness, it's intention. It's knowing that not every situation deserves a reaction. It's knowing when to speak and when to simply not. And that ability to choose your silence is what separates the impulsive from the powerful. A woman who stays silent in a world full of noise holds a kind of elegance that money can't buy. She's not playing small. She's just choosing not to dance to every tune the world plays. Imagine scrolling through social media. One girl is posting stories every hour. Rants, drama, tears, validation seeking. Another, she posts once in a while. A photo, a thought, a quiet win. And people flock to her. Not because she's trying hard, but because she's not. Her silence makes her intriguing. And that elegance of restraint, that's what turns ordinary into unforgettable. Let's not forget the power of silence in healing. After betrayal, after loss, after disappointment, silence becomes your sanctuary. You don't need to announce your healing. You don't need to explain your scars. Just like a flower blooming in solitude, you can grow quietly. You can become unrecognizable without uttering a single word. The ones who doubted you will hear your transformation in your silence. Your glow will speak where words are unnecessary. Even during success, let silence be your partner. You don't need to broadcast every achievement. Let your results do the talking. Let your presence announce your arrival. Let your evolution surprise the ones who thought they knew you. There is a royal energy in a woman who doesn't explain herself, who doesn't argue to prove a point, who doesn't seek to be understood by everyone. She just is. She just rises. She just moves and lets her silence leave the echo. Everyone loves a confident lie over an honest breakdown. That's the truth. Most people won't admit, but you feel it every day. Society is addicted to masks. People cheer the polished, the powerful, the perfect, even if it's fake. But when someone shows real pain, raw emotion, the trembling voice of vulnerability, they call it weakness. They scroll past it. They don't want to see the cracks because it reminds them of their own. Imagine a woman standing in front of a mirror before work. She's had a rough night, crying, broken, doubting herself. But the moment she steps out, she paints on her lipstick, puts on that power suit, and smiles like nothing's wrong. And what happens? She gets compliments. You look amazing. You're glowing. No one knows. She barely made it out of bed. But here's the thing. That smile was her shield. That confidence, though it was faked in the moment, became her armor. Because sometimes pretending you're okay is how you survive until you really are. Let's talk relationships. You open up. You show someone your flaws, your fears, your childhood scars, your moments of anxiety. What do most people do? They flinch. They fade. Because truth, especially emotional truth, is heavy. But lie to them with a smile, say I'm fine, post a cute photo, act unbothered, they come closer. Why? Because confidence, even if it's a performance, attracts. The world is drawn to the illusion of strength. And sometimes you've got to use that illusion to protect your reality. In the office, there's a girl who walks in like she owns the place. You'd never guess she cries herself to sleep some nights, wondering if she's good enough. But in that boardroom, she speaks with conviction. She walks with purpose. And because of that, people believe in her. Not because she's the most talented, but because she hides her self-doubt behind unstoppable energy. That confident lie becomes her ladder. And day by day, it gets her closer to becoming the woman she's pretending to be. Now think of social media. You could post a real, raw moment, a video of you breaking down, talking about your struggles, being honest. It might get a few likes, maybe some sympathy. But now, post a glamorous picture, say, living my best life, and watch the engagement explode. People don't want to face pain, they want distraction. So what do? We smile through storms. We laugh through heartbreak. Because sometimes faking power is the only way to keep people from treating us like we're fragile. But don't get this wrong. It's not about lying to the world forever. It's about understanding that not everyone deserves your truth. Your tears are sacred. Your breakdowns are holy. You don't have to serve them to a world that only wants your highlights. You can be honest with those who've earned it. But to everyone else, give them the version of you that keeps you safe. Give them the woman who doesn't beg for understanding because she's too busy building herself. There's nothing wrong with falling apart, but fall apart privately. Heal like a queen, quietly, powerfully, and with grace. Let them think you're made of steel while you rebuild brick by brick behind closed doors. The world celebrates the woman who rises, not the one who cries. So wipe those tears, fix that crown, and walk like you've never been broken. Not everyone is meant to understand you, and the moment you stop needing their approval is the moment you finally start living for real. You are not here to be explained, decoded, or validated like a textbook. You are a storm, a poem, a contradiction, and not everyone has the capacity to read between your lines. That's not your burden. That's their limitation. There's a girl who always feels like the outsider in her group. She laughs at different things. She dreams a little bigger. She doesn't join in gossip, doesn't crave constant attention, and people call her weird. She starts to question herself. Why am I so different? But one day, she realizes, being misunderstood isn't a flaw. It's a sign that she's walking a path too rare for the crowd. And from that moment, she stops shrinking to fit in. She stands out. She lets her uniqueness speak louder than their opinions. Because the loudest souls are never the most common. They're the ones bold enough to be misunderstood and keep going. Imagine this. You're building something from scratch. A business, a dream, a vision no one sees but you. Your friends mock it. Your family doubts it. They tell you, be realistic. But what they really mean is, be like us. You smile, you nod, and then you work in silence. Because not everyone will see the fire in you until you're standing in the light. And even then, some will pretend to be blind. But you don't stop for them. You rise without applause. You glow without permission. Because you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be legendary. Think about a woman who chooses to leave a toxic relationship. Everyone around her says, but he seemed like such a nice guy. Are you sure? She doesn't scream to prove her pain. She doesn't write a thesis to explain her peace. She just walks away. And that's enough. Because peace doesn't need justification. And healing doesn't need witnesses. She chose herself over being understood. And that choice will bloom silently but powerfully. There's a moment in every strong person's life when they realize they don't belong to the crowd. They think too deeply, feel too intensely, move too differently. And the world doesn't always know what to do with that kind of soul. So it labels them as too much, too sensitive, too ambitious. But here's the secret. The world has always feared what it doesn't understand. So if you feel misunderstood, maybe you're just ahead of your time. Maybe your language is evolution, and their ears are still learning how to listen. In friendships too, this shows up. You give loyalty, depth, effort, but others don't reciprocate. You express your truth, and they say, you're overthinking. You said, and now, listen closely. Because what I'm about to say isn't just the end of this message, it's the beginning of your revolution. There will come a moment in your life when you realize the power of not being understood. And in that moment, you will stop trying to explain yourself to people who were never meant to walk your path. You will stop handing your truth to those who treat it like gossip. And instead, you will wear your silence like a diamond crown. Because you'll finally understand, you were never born to fit in. You were born to redefine the mold. There's no greatness in being understood by everyone. Do you think legends were understood in the beginning? Do you think visionaries were welcomed with open arms? No, they were questioned, mocked, doubted, until the world had no choice but to recognize their fire. And that, my love, is your story too. Don't beg for seats at tables that were never built for you. Build your own, even if it's lonely at first. Because when your time comes, and it will come, those who once ignored you will wish they had understood you. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them mislabel. Because while they're busy whispering, you'll be out there winning. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence, your glow up, your comeback, your peace, your standards. You owe yourself the grace to grow, even when it makes others uncomfortable. You owe yourself the right to rise, even when they try to hold you down with opinions that were never rooted in truth. You see, when you finally stop seeking to be understood